A woman seeks a fisherman's help to deliver a message, but he demands a favor in return.
You. I want you.
Indeed, after a long internal struggle, Astrid finally agrees to marry Harold. After all, Harold has been good to her, and she feels she has no other choice. But Astrid is also aware that marrying Harold means becoming enemies with Lagertha.
Luck has finally changed.
Upon returning to Kattegat, Ub has formed an alliance with Lagertha. Ub is preparing for war against Ivar, who not only killed Sigurd but also turned the brothers against each other. Meanwhile, Lagertha must deal with Harold, who is not only a potential threat but has also kidnapped her beloved Astrid.
Floki.
Before long, Floki returns to Kattegat, sharing his experiences in Iceland. He hopes to take some people back to Iceland to settle the land, but Lagertha, in need of warriors, does not allow Floki to take her soldiers. Still, Floki secretly gathers two families, promising them a better world. On the day of departure, Lagertha receives news and immediately sets out with her soldiers to stop them.
Kattegat is in danger and you've thought only of yourself. I've been betrayed very often in my life, but I've never got used to it. But I will allow you to go.
However, soft-hearted for their decades of friendship, Lagertha lets them go. After being captured, Hemund is brainwashed daily by Ivar, much like Ragnar did with Athelstan. Ivar wants Hemund to pledge loyalty to him, but Hemund, a bishop, holds unwavering faith in God. He despises these pagans and believes they deserve death.
But I could show you the ways of God. I could bring you to salvation and to eternal life.
See, this is the strength of Christianity. They welcome anyone, even a devil like Ivar. After leaving some of his men behind in York, Ivar arrived in Harold's territory with his army, and of course he took Hemund with him. Ivar invites Harold to attack Kattegat together, promising to bequeath the throne to Harold upon his own death. Given his disability and presumably short remaining lifespan, Harold and Ivar's thoughts align perfectly. Thus, the two strongest Vikings of the 9th century form an alliance. Later, Ivar wants Hemund to fight for him. In Hemund's eyes, attacking Kattegat means killing pagans, which doesn't contradict God's teachings. Hearing he can kill pagans, Hemund is indeed tempted, but he still wants to know why Ivar values him so much.
Because I am jealous of you. I would like to be like you. Strong. That is why I saved you.
At the feast on the night of the full moon, the men discuss the exact time of the attack on Kattegat. Harold says gathering the troops will take about a month, so they set the attack for 2 months later, on the night of the full moon.
It will be strange for you to return to Kattegat as a queen.
Astrid needs to notify Lagertha of this, so she bribes a fisherman with a large sum of money, but Hakon makes an excessive demand. For Lagertha's safety, Astrid is willing to make the sacrifice, but after the deed, Hakon invites several friends who also want to get close to the queen. Astrid, of course, refuses such an outrageous request.
If you don't submit, I'll tell King Harold how you plan to betray him.
But Hakon was a man of honor, and he passed on Harold's plan of attack to Lagertha. Thus, the war becomes a tragic fratricide, tarnishing Ragnar's legendary reputation. But now, they must accept reality and prepare their defenses within 2 months. Meanwhile, Hemund faces his ultimate choice if he doesn't help Ivar. He has no reason to live. Hemund asks for a dagger, seemingly to end his life and meet God, but instead, he kills the provocateur. This means Hemund chooses to help Ivar.
I think you will fight with us!
The Sami have a peculiar custom. They perform a partial castration on reindeer. The method doesn't involve removing the testicles from the sack, but rather, a man holds down the reindeer while a woman bites the testicles to crush them. After his travels, Bjorn returns to Kattegat to fight against their enemies. Lagertha calls upon many allies, including the Sami people. The Sami, also known as the Lapps, are the indigenous people of Scandinavia, known for their reindeer herding. Bjorn is immediately taken with Princess Snefrid, while others exchange brief ceremonial kisses. Bjorn lingers long, unwilling to part. leaving Torvi feeling extremely embarrassed by the side. After casual conversation, they start discussing the impending invasion. This is no ordinary battle. The attackers are Ivar, Hvitserk, and Harold, while the defenders include Bjorn, Ub, and Halfdan, making it a true case of fratricide. Halfdan sides with Bjorn because he is grateful to Bjorn for showing him a different world, making him feel as though he had wasted the previous decades of his life. Moreover, Bjorn saved his life in a sandstorm, so Halfdan pledges eternal loyalty to Bjorn, even if it means fighting against his own brother, Harold.
You and I crawled out from under the same rock. I believe you will fight against your brother.
Before the great battle, Bjorn plans to propose to Snefrid, as his marriage to Torvi has long been in name only. So, Lagertha approaches the Sami king to ask for his daughter's hand. Princess Snefrid appears gentle and demure but is wildly passionate inside. She directly takes Bjorn to a room and ties him up with a bola.
Instead, the men hold the reindeer down. We women chew the balls to pieces inside the sack. I told my father I was going to marry you the moment I saw you.
Inside the room, they were in the throes of passion, while Torvi, alone, was grieving outside. The scene is witnessed by a passing Ub, who has always admired Torvi, but both have their own marriages. Still, Ub offers words of comfort and shares a passionate kiss with Torvi before leaving, all of which Margreta witnesses clearly. Margreta is more concerned with overthrowing Lagertha, believing disaster is imminent and sees no point in risking her life for Lagertha anymore. From Harold's escape to Floki taking some of the people, Lagertha is at a disadvantage both in terms of intellect and authority. Margreta would rather have Ub join Ivar in defeating Lagertha. If Bjorn were to die, Ub, as the eldest son, could inherit the throne, making her the queen. This is not the first time Margreta has harbored such ambitions. Ub did not expect Margreta, who came from a slave background, to harbor such ambition. However, he did not respond to her proposal in any way. Then, the group starts discussing defense tactics. Bjorn suggests moving the battlefield to the plains outside the city to avoid damaging the town and to leverage the Sami's advantage in the forests. Based on his understanding of Ivar, to prevent enemy sneak attacks on his ships, Ivar would leave men behind for defense. This would reduce the number of troops Ivar has available on the main battlefield. But knowing Ivar's knack for anticipating enemy plans, Ub thinks what Bjorn considers. Ivar has already anticipated. If Ivar instead attacks from the sea, Kattegat would be defenseless, essentially handing their homeland over to the enemy. After much deliberation, Lagertha chose to trust Bjorn's judgment and use Ivar's intelligence to play a psychological war with him. Elsewhere, the repeatedly defeated Hvitserk returns to Wessex, where Egbert was still alive when they last departed. As they pray for the former king, Alfred collapses. A few days later Alfred recovered and traveled alone to Lindisfarne Abbey, the place where Athelstan had practiced and the first stop on the Vikings invasion. Alfred seeks to understand his biological father and why the Vikings chose that location. He then suggests to the abbot that they should preach in English, given that Christianity was introduced to England from Rome. Latin was initially the language of the church. Latin might feel grand, but its drawback is that most people don't understand it, complicating the spread of Christianity. Switching to English would allow more people to appreciate the greatness of God. Alfred's suggestion is quite remarkable. It accelerates the spread of Christianity and lays a good foundation for the Vikings' integration later. However, this is only Alfred's first proposal. Will the church heed his advice? This is a war of internal strife, where family members and lovers stand on opposite sides, and most of them are relatives of the legendary Viking leader, Ragnar.
It is not right that the sons of Ragnar should try and slaughter each other.
At Lagertha's suggestion, both sides hold a negotiation, with Bjorn and Ub pleading with Ivar to cease hostilities. Yet, the decision ultimately rests with Ivar. It was thought that Ivar was moved by his brother's words. They even raised their cups for a truce, but unexpectedly, Ivar suddenly changed his mind. Even valuing brotherhood, Ivar could not forgive the murder of his mother. If they wished to avoid fratricide, then Ivar's condition was for Lagertha to leave Kattegat, in exchange for peace. Clearly, Ivar's proposal was impossible, and the negotiation quickly escalated back to a state of conflict. But Lagertha didn't want to start a fight in this form. It would be too discreditable. so both sides went back to their camps and prepared for battle. Soon after, the armies faced off once again. Ivar always felt Bjorn was scheming. Perhaps all of this was a trap they had set from the beginning. So, Ivar decided to take a third of his men back to guard the ships to avoid a complete rout should something unexpected happen. He left Harold in charge of the main battlefield and Hvitserk to flank from the side. Since Astrid was pregnant, Harold had her and Ivar retreat for defense. Then, the battle officially began. Perhaps due to the limited space, not all warriors were deployed at once. Ivar, retreating, was also torn. If his judgment was wrong, then Harold, with insufficient forces, would be at a disadvantage. Hvitserk's troops encountered an ambush in the woods. The Sami, skilled in camouflage, engage in long-range attacks from within the forest, utilizing their weapons of choice, the concealed and deadly blow darts. Poison needles shot out of tiny bamboo tubes, killing the warriors before they could see their enemy. With no option but to retreat due to the ambush, Hvitserk's flanking attempt failed. As the second wave of warriors rushed to the battlefield, Harold still waited in the rear. At this point, both sides are evenly matched. The one who enjoyed the battle the most was Hemund, who killed countless pagans with his sacred sword. When Harold joined the fight, the remaining warriors also charged into battle, meaning Harold had played his last card, but Bjorn had yet to join the fray, indicating Harold's forces were at a disadvantage.
Feel no regrets, brother! What is there to regret? You haven't won yet!
The reason Lagertha was not seen is because her role was similar to Hvitserk's. So, when Harold saw Lagertha flanking from behind, he started to panic. Seeing his mother join and Bjorn also join the battle with his remaining warriors, it was clear that they had two more sets of troops than the enemy. Due to the significant difference in troop numbers, Harold was quickly overwhelmed, prompting him to order the blowing of the horn to call for Ivar's.
They need us. They need us!
But Ivar was too far away, and it was too late for support, so he chose to minimize losses and did not reinforce. Hemund was captivated by Lagertha's gallant figure, and in the moment of his distraction, the enemy attacked him from behind. Seeing no support from Ivar, Harold had no choice but to order a retreat. This battle was fought by Harold from start to finish, with Ivar and Hvitserk contributing nothing at all. Moreover, they took away nearly 40% of the forces, making Harold's loss extremely frustrating.
Where's Hackman? Your Christian's dead. Come.
So, did Hemund really die? And how will Ivar respond after this defeat? I'll see you in the next episode.